everyone. Babula and I are back with you for this next lunar cycle where lots of cosmic shifts and changes are happening. Aren't we all feeling it? It's like, oh, it's in the ethers. Things are happening and it's big. And yeah, so
it's huge.
how are you feeling, you little Piscean you?
Well, I'm doing surprisingly well in the middle of all of this. You know, it is intense. It's huge. It's day by day by day by day, minute by minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like that, and I've been feeling a sense of pressures building.
Yes.
You know, and I don't know whether that's to do with the Schumann resonance, which I was looking on that particular YouTube this morning, where he's talking about this is the highest it's ever been on record.
That's right.
And I don't fully understand the Schumann resonance, but I know that it affects us and, you know, the planet geologically and atmospherically and us as well.
That's right. I was seeing that too. I've noticed, and I don't understand it fully. I've looked into it a little bit. It's acknowledged and recognized by scientists. They're able to measure it. And so it's to do with, you know, like the electrical storms and so on. And it's just this high vibrational energy. And more esoterically, people often refer to it as the Earth's heartbeat. It's like a pulse. And it's just like it's just spiking and peaking. For the last year or two, they're seeing, you know, on the graphs, like it's hitting numbers they've never seen before. And this just in the last few days, again, it's just off the charts virtually. So
it's thunderous, isn't it?
Huge. So there's so many things going on in so many dimensions and on so many levels. It's just massive what's happening.
And in 2020, we were talking a lot about, you know, the waves of change that were going through the year, which we all felt. This year it's more like the waves are intense. It's like a really choppy ocean, not just a sea, but an ocean. And, you know, it's like we're in the Marianas Trench of all of those, the choppiness, and but it's gone down, it's really deep, and it's shifting things at the foundational level.
It absolutely is, and it's impacting every single person on the planet, even those who maybe don't watch TV at all. You know, I mean, I would say even people living in a village in Africa where they maybe don't have electricity, you know, there are still people on the planet living those very simple lives. I'm kind of a bit envious of them in some ways. You know, it's impacting everything, even the animals. I've been watching some interesting videos about that, how animals are responding to what's going on as well, and it's affecting everying.
These are all just good examples of how everything in the universe has an effect on other things.
That's right.
We may not feel all the effects of everything from the universe on Earth, but we're certainly feeling it in our little locale of the backwash of the Milky Way.
That's right. And in the specific details and issues of our own personal lives, you know, absolutely. It's just, and you know, I'm someone who just naturally, it's just the way I'm wired up. I'm a big picture sort of girl. I mean, yes, the specifics and details of our daily life are real, and that's our human reality. But, you know, on a bigger picture, like this is a critical time for humanity and the world we live in. We haven't seen anything like this for 26,000 years. It's that big. You know, it's that kind of momentous collective evolutionary shift on a massive level. And something like that was never going to be easy, and it was never going to just pass away and nobody noticed anything. It has to be this huge and dramatic and intense and life-changing.
We will move through it, and there will be something on the other side, which I'm already seeing glimpses of. And if it comes up, I'll have a little chat about that later. But
great.
Now, tell us how this new moon is going to kickstart this next lunar cycle.
Okay, fabulous. So the new moon will occur on the 6th of October at 13 degrees of Libra. So, you know, on the solstice, the equinox, the sun moved into Libra on the 23rd of September. Mercury's in Libra, Mars is in Libra. So, there's a few planets in Libra, but it's the Libran time of year. And, currently Mercury's retrograde in Libra. Oh, there's so much to say, Sheryl. Where do I start? There's just so much going.
Let's just start with the stellium of those planets that are
yes.
at the moment.
And look, I've even drawn a little diagram. I thought, how can I explain all of this in a way that makes sense to someone who maybe hasn't studied astrology? Because sometimes the words are just too much to take in. I like pictures, so I drew a bit of a picture today.
Yeah.
So
I understand that. I do, because I sat and I looked at the planets that are at play in this particular moment, and I didn't even think about it. I was just sitting there feeling it, trying to put it together, synthesizing the energy from all those planets. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you. And I wrote a post. I've written a couple of long posts on Facebook lately, trying to sort of decipher it a bit. And I realized with one of them, I did it in bullet points, like point 1, point 2. Just to help our brains digest it a bit, there is a lot happening. So, okay,
you can do it. You can fly.
Libra. So Libra is a sign that's on the cardinal cross, and I will use my little picture. I'll bring it in right now.
Yeah.
So there we have the sign of Libra. It's opposite the sign of Cancer. This is the wheel of the zodiac in a very simplistic form. Libra is opposite Eris. Libra is square to Cancer, which is square to Aries. Libra is square to Capricorn. So Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, Aries sit on what we call the cardinal cross. These are the 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac. It's in reverse, folks, so that's just what happens on the screen. And because we've got Pluto, who's been very, 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 very slowly moving through the sign of Capricorn, he's been a major piece of this story unfolding for quite some years now, and very, very slow moving Eris is over here in Aries. These two, Pluto and Eris, move very slowly. They've been in this square aspect, this 90 degrees alignment. It's an alignment of tension. And, for all of last year and this year, because they move so slowly. What happens then when faster moving planets, say, come into Libra or Cancer? At the moment it's Libra, they trigger these points. And that's what's going on. You've got the Sun, Mars, and Mercury, which is now retrograde, adding a bit of pum to Mercury as he's kind of gone down into the underworld in his role as psychopomp and messenger. They're all activating this story again. So we get periods in the year when those faster moving planets trigger again that square, and it just adds a tremendous amount of potency and intensity to what's happening. And of course, that kind of potency and intensity is on full display in the world. It's on full display in Australia right now. But it's also playing out in our lives. Like, I'm really looking at, big changes coming up for me and making decisions and choices and so on. And as we all are in all sorts of ways.
If I could just add something there for people who didn't quite get that.
Yeah.
An analogy is, if you think of a baseball match, you've got people on the 3 bases, and you've got the batter, and you've got the pitcher and the catcher. Then you've got the batter comes up, hits the ball, and he runs tag basically from base to base to base to base, back to home. That's right. So he's ticking off. I mean, the field is fixed, but the runner is running through and he's touching base.
That's right.
When he touches base, there's an effect.
That's right. And it's an activation.
Yep.
And a trigger for things to happen.
Yeah.
Always, of course, all of this is where we have to go big picture and a bit deeper. All of this is serving evolution, our own and the collective. And things unfold, and that's exactly what needs to unfold, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Whether it's what we think we want. That Rolling Stones song, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. It's classic.
It's like revolution is evolution.
Exactly. Exactly. And this has been building up for a long time. This hasn't just come out of nowhere. It's been in play for a long time, and now here we are. So, Libra, as we touched on last week, is very much, it's an air sign. It's a cardinal air sign, and the cardinal signs are signs that are impelled to take action. Now, Libra is a sign of peace and harmony and beauty and balance and grace. How does it take action? In Libra, we're motivated to want to negotiate, connect, form relationship, harmonize. There's an active participation. Libra is not a passive sign. Yeah. It's a peace-loving sign, but it's not passive. Like, brings to mind Gandhi.
Yeah.
He was a Libran. Look what that man achieved. He didn't just sit back and think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if the British were at it? No, he was a lawyer, Libra, and his method was civil disobedience. It was not violence. He's a Libran, you see, but he was a powerful being, and look what he achieved. So it is a dynamic sign that people often miss with Libra, and it's actively involved in creating beauty and creating harmony. It's dynamic about its desire for peace and equality and justice and so on. So we mentioned last time about legal issues, which is very Libra. There's a lot going on around the world in the courts. There is, and with Mars in here now, of course, yes, there are big battles going on in courts, and rightly so, as challenges are being made to the status quo.
And I've seen that the ones that have they haven't won that case, they've gone immediately back to appeal it. We're not stopping.
No.
We're active in this, yeah.
This will not stop until there is some kind of eventual outcome and resolution. So when the new moon forms in Libra on the 6th, that is, an important, potent time for us all to be considering in what way does this Libran energy relate to me and my life, and what am I seeing in the world around me? A very relevant piece about this particular new moon, it's at 13 degrees of Libra, so the sun and the moon are at 13 degrees, and so is Mars. So this Libran new moon, which normally you would think of, oh, this would be a beautiful few days to just make my home beautiful, see my friends, have a lovely time, enjoy some lovely social connections. Mars is here. So Mars is kind of, in a way, the opposite energy to Libra. And Mars is warrior, masculine, action, sometimes fight. And, in Libra, he's very dynamic now and very actively engaged in these issues of justice and what's right and what's not right, and so on and so on. This makes it a strong new moon to have Mars right on that degree. So stay tuned, folks, because things will happen. And it can also be in our own world. It can be a couple of days where we just go, right, that's it. I'm not doing that anymore. We make a decision and we just go, this isn't right in our relationship, in our workplace, wherever it might be. This is not right. I'm not having it anymore. And we actively do something because Mars is really triggering this.
Yeah, it's like lines are drawn.
Exactly.
And we're not doing that anymore. And actually, yesterday I was having a discussion with someone about an organisation, and I was saying that this whole idea of the way things are done in some organisations where management's from the top down, that's not collaborative. Actually, it's collaborative when you start from the ground up, and you have more input from that level, and then the management can go, oh, okay. And they have this communication, you have this, what's the word I'm trying to think of? But you have this balance between that level and this level, and then you get the best outcomes out of it. And after the conversation, I thought, oh, I'm talking Libra language.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And it actually makes for a better, more successful company or business or organization. Everything works better.
Yep, it does. Yeah. The more people at that grassroots level have an input.
That's
And
right.
I'm thinking now, how is this playing out with governments and people at the grassroots level? We're seeing that happening, aren't we?
Yes.
Where they're saying this is unbalanced, this isn't right. We the people are saying this isn't right. Where's the morals? Where's the ethics? Which also is I think is Libra too.
Yes.
Yeah, all part.
Yes. What is right and just?
Yes, exactly. So so there's I'm not surprised we're seeing all these protests.
That's right.
At the moment, because there's this need, there's this feeling to even things out.
That's right.
You've got too much power. We want some of that back. We want equal power.
That's right. And of course, on the other side of Libra is Eris, and those in power are pulling out the big guns literally. You know, we've seen the pictures of what's happening in Melbourne. Like, that is not normal. It's just not. You know, that is the big guns. And it's a show of force and intimidation, which is a more negative expression of Eris. And, you know, peaceful demonstrators, an action by those in powers flares up, triggers something, and there's a reaction. And of course, the cameras are all there and they capture that, and so on and so on and so on. But actually, in my experience and understanding, fundamentally and by and large, these protests are peaceful, but that's not what's presented. So these are the dynamics that are going on here. And it's,
So it's out of balance, isn't it?
It's extremely out of balance.
I was looking at some of the images from the Black Lives Matters protests earlier on, and they didn't have these counter-terrorist forces out on the street with them. But they've got them out now with people who are just protesting against lockdowns.
That's right. So it begs the question, who are the terrorists?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
I know. I thought, will I say that or not? And I thought, hell yes, I will. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. So, okay, so we'll continue because there's a lot. It's like day after day after day, the next one. And then it's like you put it all together. So on the 7th, well, actually during the new moon and on the 7th exactly, our friend Pluto, the Lord of the underworld, the Darth Vader of the solar system, you could say, but really a very important energy of transformation and death and rebirth, very potent, powerful energy, turns direct. So he's been in retrograde motion for about five months, which is normal. It happens every year. When these, particularly the slow-moving planets, change direction, which they don't actually do in the sky, but when they come to a standstill for a period of time, and because Pluto is such a slow mover, he's at a standstill pretty much for about 2 weeks, which is where he is now, but he's exactly stopped, you know, like the train stops. And then he'll slowly begin to move direct again instead of going seemingly backwards. So that adds a real potency to the new moon. So Pluto is stationary, about to change direction. And I've noticed over the years, whenever these planets are at a stationary point, the energy of that planet is very present, you know. So Pluto, an energy of destruction, of death, of annihilation, in order for there to be a release of built up energy, like a volcano. You know, a volcano, the pressures build up underneath.
Yeah.
Something has to be released. In our bodies, in medical astrology, Pluto is the process of the elimination of toxins in the body. And that's never pretty, you know, when the toxins start to come out. You know, it can be pretty intense, but there's a cleansing that comes. And that's what Pluto is actually about.
Yeah.
So, and it's a planet of tremendous power, you know, like a volcano. And atomic energy.
And we have that big volcano over in the Canary Islands, La Palma.
There's a lot going on currently with quakes and volcanoes.
And the prediction is if that goes, it could have a huge tsunami that goes over and hits the east coast of the United States.
Yeah.
And if it goes all through there and it hits New York and the stock exchange, and I'm thinking about, next year in the USA, what's this big thing that's going to happen?
That's right. Oh, there'll be lots of things, but that could well be one of them.
That could be one of the triggers, yeah. And they're expecting it to go anytime, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, because, Gaia is a part of this whole process, it's everything's a part of this. So on the 7th, Pluto's at its exact station, but it's, pretty stationary now. Then Venus leaves Scorpio on the same date. So she comes out of that deep Scorpio energy. And it's like, I always feel when planets come out of Scorpio, or when we experience something like that in our own charts, like a progression comes out of a long journey through Scorpio and comes into Sag, it's like we've literally climbed up out of the underworld and gone, wow, look at this whole big wide world out here. The horizons open up. But we've had to go down into that deeper territory first. So
like Persephone rising, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Into the light, So now normally when planets are, towards the end of the year going through Sag, we're all like itchy feet. I want to go somewhere. I want to jump on a plane. I want to have an adventure. I want to have a trip. Well, some people are still doing that. There are all sorts of, hoops they have to go through. But for many, there can be a frustration around, I want my freedom, which is what Sag is about. But just in a very simple way too, it can also be a time where suddenly things sort of feel a bit lighter in that Venusian way. We want to hang out with our friends and have a bit of fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So for about 3 to 4 weeks, Venus will be in Sag, which will be helpful while all its other stuff's going on. Then on the 8th, the next day.
Hold on, did you say Sag or Scorpio? Venus
Sag. She'll go into Sagittarius.
Yep.
On the 7th, while Pluto's stationary.
Yep.
And she'll be in Sag then for about 3 weeks.
Oh, yippee, party time.
Yeah. Now, on the 8th, the following day, the Sun will make an exact conjunction with Mars at 15 of Libra. On the 9th, Pluto makes an exact square to Eris. But that square to Eris is really in play over these whole 2 to 3 years because they both move so slowly. And they're only going like a couple of degrees a year. So it just is on that date there exact. So just to revise that again a little bit, I've spoken a bit about Pluto, this energy of, awesome immensity and intensity, meets Eris,
she's a bitch.
Oh God, the feminine energy archetype who through a sequence of events, which I'll just briefly tell the story, literally set in motion the Trojan War and the sacking of Troy, because she wasn't invited to this posh wedding, where all the beautiful people had gathered, the gods and the heroes, and everyone's in their finery, and there was this fabulous wedding, and all the special people were invited. And she was excluded, like the story of the 13th fairy, because she was known to be a troublemaker. Oh, we don't want her spoiling our beautiful wedding. It's that guest who is excluded because they're a bit unsavory or a bit difficult, or a bit, like the uncle you don't want to invite to the party, or, whatever that might be for us. And of course, Eris being Eris, she gate crashes, she turns up. But what she does is she offers a golden apple. She puts it down on the ground, and these 3 beautiful goddesses are there. And she says, this apple is for whoever is deemed to be the most beautiful of the goddesses. Well, all the goddesses, like are certain that they'll be chosen. And a number of things happen that set in motion the Trojan War. So it's like Eris represents an energy that refuses to be ignored. If we ignore a shadow, we do so at our own peril, because it will show up and cause even more mayhem. So, but she's revealing and exposing some deeper truths, about what's actually going on in this party of beautiful people, that kind of thing. And so she's like a whistleblower in a way. And even though events unfold that aren't pretty necessarily, she's revealing and exposing something. Yeah. So, and that's what's going on, you know, through everything that's going on. Things are being revealed that are not pretty, and it's intense, you know, and it's a really challenging time, but things are cracking open and things are being exposed, and it has had to happen. She's playing an important role here. Then on the
I was going to say, it reminds me of you know, woman scorned, that thing. It's like or unrequited love, when that love's not returned, all the venom, the vileness is spat out against that person. It's like, you know, and often some of it is because they've had inside knowledge about something, and they
that's right.
talk about it and make it public and get all your dirty laundry out into the public arena. And actually, we're seeing some of that, aren't we? In our politics.
Yeah, we are. And I think a lot more is going to be cracking open, because it just can't hold all those lies together forever. It just can't hold. No. And the more people that see, even, you know, one by one person, you know, the more this is actually happening.
Yeah, so we'll see quite a bit of denial.
Yes.
Or a cutting off point where all that will be forgotten. So there will be no need to talk about the lies. There'll be a point where we'll go, from here, okay, this is actually what's happening.
That's right.
Forget the lies that we told you.
Yeah. I'm seeing so many signs of this, these shocks and revelations, you know, going like shock waves out into the field. So then on the 10th, the next day, the sun, and I actually printed a chart out just to sort of show this. The sun is exactly conjunct Mercury retrograde, exactly conjunct Mars. So, and it looks like that, if that means it. So they are all at exactly the same degrees, at 16 degrees of Libra. And right in there, of course, is Mercury retrograde. So that's very strong. And that's all a part of all of that we're talking about. You know, these are day after day. So they're all actually working together. It's hard to sort of separate them out in many ways. Then the next day, Saturn turns direct. So Saturn is stationary as well. Been in retrograde for about 5.5 months also. And he turns direct at almost 7 degrees of Aquarius. So that means that then he'll start to move forward and slowly pick up speed. And when planets do that, when they're in their retrograde phase, and by the way, there's currently 8 planets retrograde for about a period of 10 days. And then slowly a few of them, in October, 4 of them go direct again. So that really adds to the power of this, you know, month ahead. So
can I just go back to the 10th where you said the sun is conjunct Mercury, conjunct something else?
Mars.
Oh, right. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. So we could see a lot more. Well, that's getting active with information, isn't it? It's more and more information.
Yes.
Communications and interesting. So
it is.
Things going on in the media.
Yeah, and you know, when a planet goes retrograde, and Mercury is a good example because he does it 3 times a year for about 3 weeks each time. It's usually around 21 days. On a sort of a energetic level, he's dipped down into the underworld. And Mercury in mythology, if anyone's interested in this, look up this word psychopomp. Mercury is one of his roles and functions in the mythology of these gods and goddesses and planets. He's a guide of the souls down into the underworld, because he's unusual in it. Mercury Hermes can access all the realms. He's swift of feet. He's got wings on his helmet and wings on his feet, and he's just like Geminis. You know, they're moving quickly, and their minds move quickly. So he can access, and he scoots down into the underworlds like he's down in there. And he gets down there even by tricking the Cerberus, you know, the 3-headed dog, and he's got tricks and magic, and He knows how to do stuff, and chung, and down he goes.
Well,
And nobody else is allowed down there, but, you know.
yeah. And psychopomps also, that, you know, they go into the underworld like shamans.
That's right.
Travel with the souls of the dead, and they're actually the psychonauts, and they make sure you go to where you need to go. That's the other thing too, that you get to your destination, that things don't pull you off the path. So I'm thinking in regard to Sun conjunct Mercury conjunct Mars, it's like Mercury's there to make sure that you don't get pulled off that path where, you know, if you bring it into Libra, and with Mars being active, you know, put that all together. Here's some information that maybe will give you a bit more balance about your perception of things. So maybe some information might be revealed.
That's fantastic. And then from there, a clearer action might unfold for you.
Yeah.
That's right. We will see a lot. Really, we're going to see so much happening.
And that goes back to the whistleblowing that you mentioned.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because we're not getting all the information. And when we don't get all the information, we're getting this unbalanced view of things.
Yes. Because a lot of information is being deliberately shut down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, you know, stay tuned, listen out for messages and announcements. And even in our conversations with people, you know, I'm sure we're all experiencing it. I know I am. You know, so in a conversation, someone will tell you something and you go, oh, that changes everything, you know.
I know. Yeah,
yes.
I know. And even just, I was reading something yesterday, I just looked it up, about people are hoping in our state in Queensland that there will be borders will open, and so that people can see families from other states for Christmas. Well, guess what? On the 24th of September, the state of emergency has now been extended to the 26th of December. So that's not going to happen.
Of course.
Borders aren't going to be open. So, but here's some information. It's like that revelation of information. You go, what? You know,
that's right.
Suddenly, and that sort of gets the mind ticking over and going,
that's right.
This isn't what I was told. This isn't the information that I've been led to believe. So this is how that can play out, you know.
That's right. And you know, Mercury is famous for being a trickster.
Yes.
You know, he's tricky. That's right. And, you know, you might be being told one thing, but what's actually happening is the opposite to that. He can be. And when he's retrograde, things often get a bit tricky and a bit confused. And like even, you know, it even gets down to, you know, I'm sure most people listening to this have heard of Mercury retrograde before and have an idea about what happens. But, you know, we can end up in traffic jams and being late for appointments or missing the appointment. We had the wrong date, the wrong time. You know, all those little frustrations of our daily lives really get triggered when Mercury is retrograde. But I loved your explanation of the psychopomp. Yeah, he's actually the guide, isn't he? He's a guide in the underworld.
Yeah.
When souls depart. And I think in our own inner psychological, spiritual transformation, you know, a lot of that is underworld stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
And we often seek a guide in some way, whether it be a spiritual teacher or a healer or something that helps to support and guide us on our way in those deeper territories of the unconscious. There's a lot going on like that.
There is.
A lot is stirring. I'm really feeling it, like a lot daily. You know, and Mercury retrograde, particularly in Libra, very often will manifest as people from our past show up. I had that happen the day Mercury turned retrograde on the 27th in Libra. An old boyfriend of mine from way back, I've had no contact for all these years, decades, popped up on Facebook. And we've just been chatting and catching up a bit. And we've both had like completely, you know, lives have gone in different directions and done very different things. But out of nowhere, it took me a minute to even realize who it was. Suddenly I went, oh my God, it's you. And that's right on the day Mercury went retrograde in Libra, the relationship sign. That people often tell me things like that. Someone's come up from them because it's got a lot to do with past experiences, material information that we might have forgotten about.
Interesting. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes, actually, that information that you've forgotten about. Because sometimes I'll go, in regard to the political scene, I'll go, no, I remember. Something will come up on social media and some great supposed explanation about some political view. And I'm thinking, that's not what they said. And I'll go back and I have another look at what they've said in various news clips. And I'm thinking, that's completely opposite.
That's right. It's flipped.
Yep. And there's that trickster.
The trickster just says whatever is expedient in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And that reminds me of the, what is that? The fox and the gingerbread man going across the river?
No, I don't know that story.
Isn't that the one? Is it the gingerbread man on his back? He takes the gingerbread man across the...
I know that story as the scorpion and the frog.
Oh, okay.
The frog? Yes.
Something like that. Yes.
The frog, the scorpion asked the frog to take him across the river.
Oh, okay.
And the frog says, no, you'll kill me. He says, well, why would I do that? I need to get onto the other side. I just want you to help me get across, and then I'll be on my way. And he thinks, well, that sounds reasonable. Of course, Scorpion hops on, and halfway across, he stabs the frog and kills him, and they both drown. And as they're drowning, he says something like, well, why the hell did you do that? It's just in my nature.
Yeah.
So it's probably, maybe you've heard another version, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
But those things are born out of observations of life, aren't they? Those stories, those parables, observations of life. And that's born out of the astrology.
Yes.
Going on around us and within us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and of course, all these really deep things that are moving and coming up, they're all in so many ways coming out of trauma and karma and wounds, from earlier in this life, from past lives, from the collective karma and trauma of humanity. I think humanity has suffered tremendous trauma for so long. There is this kind of collective field of trauma that's all it's just being pushed up to the surface.
Yes.
And hopefully in time, all of this will be cleansed and purified and transformed into something quite different for humanity, in years and centuries to come. So, yeah. And the movement of the planets, day by day, week by week, year by year, just keep telling the story of all this process unfolding.
I've read a couple of articles recently. One I posted on my Facebook page, but it's about, I guess it's a reflection of people reevaluating their lives. One of the stories that's on my page is about the millennials in China, and how they are choosing not to tie down their lives to mortgages and long hours of working, and they want to have a life.
Wow.
They're choosing to be more minimal in that, so that they can have a better work-life balance. Talking about Libra, right? And fancy these articles coming out now. The state's not happy about it.
No.
That's one story. Another story I read yesterday, which is about the Great Resignation, which is heading to Australia in March 2022. And this is along very similar lines, where people, younger people particularly, but all people, are choosing to have different types of lives. And they're already saying it, but now there's a trend that's being observed where they're saying, no, we don't want that life. We don't want to tie ourselves up with, big loans. We want to live a simpler life. We want to have a life, etc. And they're calling it the Great Resignation. And I can see how after this all peters out, and it will one way or the other, that, this is this ongoing reevaluation
Yes.
people are going through, as they do when there's trauma in their lives. And
that's right.
Whether you think you're suffering trauma or not, there's trauma in society, and energetically people are picking up on it.
Exactly.
Because some people are going, well, actually, my life hasn't really been affected that much, but actually it is.
That's right.
You're just not aware of it.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and the trend, if the trend keeps following the way it does, which I think it will, is that they're predicting now that in the future, instead of people marketing themselves to employers will have to market the jobs to the people. So isn't that a bit Kali Yuga-ish?
Amazing. Amazing.
And I thought, wouldn't that be karmic?
Yes, that is so interesting.
It is, yeah. I just had to tell you that because I thought, wow, this is the planets playing themselves out.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yes.
That young people are just rejecting that old paradigm. Like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
In a place like China, where
it's very Aquarian, very new.
Stepping out of.
Yeah, unjobbing,
unschooling.
Yeah, the cultural creative movement that was born, I think it was back in the 90s, but there's a great book called The Cultural Creatives by Ray and Anderson, I think it is. I've read it. It's like a Bible. It's a book for study, right? It's like a textbook. But in there, they talk about all these movements that we've had in the past, the suffragette movement, the environmental movement, the civil rights movement, et cetera, and a whole lot of others, all merged together and created this group of people called the cultural creatives. And they're choosing to unjob.
Yes.
To live a different sort of life, to put the environment first, to have jobs where there's creativity involved. And the byline of that heading is how 50 million people are changing the world. And I think the Great Resignation might actually be an outreach of the cultural creative movement.
Wow, that's so interesting. I'm just writing these down, folks, if you're wondering what I'm doing, because I just want to look at that a bit closer. That's great.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, because, in these times, just everything is shifting. Everything.
We're going to have a very different social landscape after this. And I think
incredibly
happened so quickly that because I think we're coming to a stage where we're going to reach a tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that we're seeing on so far it's horrible. We hate it all. We don't like the tyrannical sort of, attitude of governments around the world, and people who are taking advantage of the situation for their own agendas and all that sort of stuff. But I think that there's a growing movement of people who are, and I think I said this in one of my Facebook posts, that the light of consciousness, which is coming from Aquarius, is igniting each of us at a different time, right? Groups of people too, but at a different time individually, so that we are going to change the way we think, and we're going to reach that tipping point where enough people have changed the way that they think that it will affect our society in a big way. And we'll suddenly wake up one day and go, oh my God, where did this come from? But actually it's been petering along all through the situation.
Exactly. And systems of governance, everything can be radically dismantled and transformed because we can create something that's completely different. And so this is to come on the other side of this, but a lot has to happen at first and in the meantime, and it ain't easy.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a tremendous dismantling and breaking down. And of course, there's great resistance by the powers that be to that. So they're, pushing back with everything they've got. So it's full on. Yeah. But I just know with everything in me, I have all my life that there's a better world coming. But it doesn't just happen magically, we've got to go through this bit first. That's right.
It's work, and everyone has to make a decision. Decisions.
That's right. That's at the heart of it, isn't it? We're all having to make a choice on a deep soul level. We're making choices now, which is a very Libran thing too. Like Well, on the one hand and on the other hand, but on the other hand, but on the other hand, that's right. And I think, that idea of Libra too, it's recognizing that there actually are two sides. People say, oh, I just want to sit in the middle. Yeah, but there are certain situations where actually, no, I think we have to make a choice. It's this or that.
Yes.
For me, at Libra, the center is in here. The center is inside, and from there, I make my choice for either that or that. That's how I see it. I don't think it's a matter of just trying to keep the peace by not upsetting anybody.
Yes.
I think we're in such a time where we have to make a choice. Are we going that way or are we going that way?
And I think on a personal level, Librans have to protect against, because if you're a people pleaser, for example, you have to protect against compromising too much to make the other person happy, whether it's in a relationship, in a job, in the world, in government, whatever it is. We have to be careful that we keep that balance, because it's just like, and I'll just tell a quick story about my daughter's been looking around to buy houses, and they haven't been able to find what they wanted, her and her husband. And so every time they find something they can't find what they want, they feel a bit bummed out, they feel a bit disillusioned. And so the next time they're looking, they make another compromise.
That's
and
right.
Another compromise and another compromise. And this is with Libra, we have to be careful this in relationships, whether it's with our partners, our friends, our employers, etc. We have to be very careful that we do not compromise ourselves through that whole process.
Yes, exactly. And do anything to keep the peace, to keep harmony, and pay a price for that. So that's exactly right. That's a big issue in Libra. Yeah. Yeah. So then a little bit further on the 18th, Jupiter turns direct at 22 of Aquarius, and Mercury on the 19th will turn direct again at 10 degrees of Libra. So I think I just want to show my little diagram again for a moment. So the thing is, with these two powerful energies, Eris very slow moving, pretty much sitting at this point here, 33, 34, Aries squaring to Pluto at 23, 24, 25 of Capricorn. As these fast-moving planets come in, the Sun, Mars, and Mercury retrograde throughout this whole period, pretty much from the whole kind of middle 2 weeks or so of October, it's going to be quite strong. A lot is going to get activated. These are powerful energies. With the squares and the oppositions, you get energies like pushing up against each other. They are not in a state of harmony and flow. There's pressure. There's a certain intensity, and each one is kind of trying to resist the energy of the other one. It's like, if you think about it, any of the crosses, this cardinal cross, these 4 points of these four, it's like four people sitting around a square table at a meeting, and everyone's got their own agenda. And you can take a lot of nutting out to come to some kind of mutual agreement and to acknowledge the needs and the opinions of each person sitting on that square. It's a bit like that in a very simplistic way. So, there's a lot. And of course, in the middle of this is the new moon and the full moon, because when we get to the full moon on the 21st, sorry, Sheryl.
No, go.
The full moon on the 21st, which, means that this new moon cycle from the 6th, it peaks on the 21st. The full moon will be at 27 of Aries, very closely conjunct to Eris in Aries, opposite the Sun at 23 of Libra, and square the Pluto. So on this diagram again, the full moon on the 21st is going to occur right on this point. So
it's still in Libra? Did you
still
say?
In Libra, the Sun is still in Libra. Coming to the end of Libra at 27 degrees.
So we're getting a double whammy of this
Yeah.
this Libran energy.
Yeah. So that cardinal grand cross, the cardinal cross, is being very activated. And as I said, cardinal signs are signs of action. There's motivation, there's energy, there's drive, there's sense of purpose, often a sense of push. People who are very cardinal by nature, they're activators. You know, they're not passively, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing to be more passive, but they actively engage with life. There's a sense of direction and purpose that comes through these signs. So yeah, it's a lot. it's a lot.
What I was going to say before is you're holding up your little diagram there, and I'm thinking, okay, so what planets are going to go over Pluto? I'm a bit worried about that. You know?
Well, that of course will happen later in the year when we come into late December, January, when the fast inner planets all move through Capricorn. Yeah,
be interesting.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then by on the 23rd, just to sort of jump ahead a tiny bit, the sun will leave Libra and go into Scorpio. And on the 31st of October, Mars will leave Libra and go into Scorpio. Then we'll have a lot of Scorpio energy active. So,
well, of course, we're going to have Halloween.
Yes.
31/10.
Halloween, when Mars goes into Scorpio. Whoa.
We're going to have fun with that.
We could certainly have fun with that. So yeah, really, you know, from now to the end of this year, because in December, I think it's the 26th, like Boxing Day, the final of the 3 big Saturn-Uranus squares takes place. A lot's going to happen between now and then. A lot is happening. Buckle up, folks. There's a lot to unfold in these coming few months.
Yeah, wow. Oh, cogitate and percolate. I feel like a coffee pot just percolating.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a lot to take in, but of course,
is.
People can watch this again and again and again if they want to, and take down, or if you missed all those dates, etc. You can.
And for those who like to follow astrology or are learning it or are astrologers, whatever, you know, often it's interesting. People say this to me all the time after a reading, you know, they play it back a year or two later and they go, oh my God, now I get it. Now it all makes so much sense. Yeah. You know, it can be even interesting to play something like this back again at the end of the month and go, oh, well, that happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. You know, if you're interested in kind of understanding astrology, that can be a very useful thing to do. It sort of starts to cognitively make sense.
Yes, yeah. And that's the beauty of putting these up on the channel, is that people can go back and study information.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, last year we did our backgrounds were all Halloweeny. So we'll have to do that again this year.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
So there you go, folks. There's a lot of information to think about. And actually, if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up. Click that thumb up, and remember to subscribe and click the bell to get the notifications when we upload these podcasts, Zoomcasts, I think they are. And leave some comments. We'd love to hear some comments playing out in your life. You know, how some of these things might be right now when you watch this. You know, can you relate to it? Does it, or does something not make sense? We want to hear about that too, and we can.
And Sheryl, I'm happy to respond to people. If anyone's got a question, obviously I can't, you know, do a chart reading because that's a big thing. But you know, if anyone's got a question, I'm happy to engage and respond to people. If anybody would like to do that.
Yeah. And now,
or you might want to ask Sheryl something too. This is a woman; she has a lot of knowledge about a lot of interesting things, folks.
Now, do you have any workshops coming up?
I have a fabulous painting party on Mount Tambourine coming up. I'm also giving a day workshop on the Black Moon Lilith at a country residence bit out in the bush, which I'm thrilled about, outside of Toowoomba. It's like a weekend astrology retreat.
Oh.
And there is some accommodation available. People can bring their tents. It's a wonderful opportunity to get out of town and dive into some beautiful astrology. And I'll be doing the Sunday on the Black Moon Lilith. I was invited to participate by these two fabulous women, so I'm very delighted about that.
One of your pets, isn't it, the Black Moon Lilith?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Just give people a little brief insight into what you will be talking about, so they understand what it.
Okay, great. So the Black Moon Lilith is not a physical planet. It's like an energy vortex point, but it's calculated by astronomers. It's astronomers. It's a known energetic phenomenon, and it relates. It's called the Black Moon. Sometimes people call it Lilith, but I always call it the Black Moon Lilith. It relates to the repression of the feminine principle that's been playing out on this planet for some thousands of years, and there's a story. There's a mythology story. There's a sequence of situations and events that unfold in that mythical story, and these myths give us so much insight and understanding into what these things actually mean and represent. So I share that, and I look at how we've experienced in our own lives and in our own family situation in the world around us this repression and denial of the feminine. And when I say that, I include in that women, the earth herself, Mother Nature, Gaia, and the dark indigenous races, the indigenous peoples of this world who are deeply connected to Gaia and the earth, and all the rape and pillage and plunder that's gone on this planet for so long, of those things, of that feminine principle. And it tells our own personal story in relationship with that. And then the process of healing and reclamation of our feminine power and identity, and how that energy is coming forward in the world so strongly now. It's like a reclaiming. She represents this feminine principle that, in the face of the masculine patriarchal order, just said, no, I ain't doing that. So she's a kind of resistance to that. Very strong energy. And in my experience over many, many years of running workshops and teaching about this, women are just going, oh my God, that's my story. So many women can relate to this so much in their own particular experience.
Sounds interesting. So if anyone's interested in that, and we all have that in our chart somewhere.
Yes, that we do.
Yes.
And I got interested years ago when I realized it was very strong in my chart, and I went, oh, well, that explains a lot. It was like a revelation to me, and I just kept exploring and investigating.
So if you want to know more about that, I'll put in the link in the description to Babula's website. Also, just remember to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode. I'm hoping to reopen my Body Light Center in the new year. And for those who don't know, I teach shamanic practices, Reiki, soul collage, which is an art therapy, but it's much more than that, and offer shamanic healing. So, also with a co-host, we hold, what am I trying to think of?
Sound baths.
Crystal bowl, sound baths,
beautiful they are.
A whole lot of stuff like that. So if you're interested in those things, I'll put the email link to the Body Light Center in the description as well. I don't have a Facebook page, but you can find me on, sorry, I don't have a website. What am I saying? But you can find me.
I was confused.
On the Body Light Center Facebook page, and send private messages through there. I'm thinking of getting a website. I'm not really sure if I want to do that. I want to do something new and different and just not have one.
Be a rebel.
I'm being a rebel. So anyway, that's how you can contact us. All the details will be in the link below.
Right. And I'll also be running a one-day workshop here in Forest Lake, which is where I live, which I do this every year towards the end of the year, on all the transits coming up for 2022. And I think this year I'll also do 1 or 2 Zoom sessions on that as well for people who can't physically come
Good
to the
idea.
actual workshop, because as expected, things are looking pretty interesting next year.
Yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen, do you?
That's right.
So when will that one be?
I haven't set the date yet. I'm actually going to be looking at all that today. And there's a couple of other ideas I've got too, thoughts about workshops between now and the end of the year.
Well, I'll be doing that one, that's for sure. So
right. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. And we will see you in another 2 weeks for the next lunar cycle. And until then, stay safe, stay calm, breathe.
That's right. And then, do things you enjoy as well.
Yeah. Relax. Try and relax if you can. Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone. Till next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.